Hey, everybody, it must be a Monday night because here I am for the November Maw of Mike, that show which brings you everything which is going on. Well, not everything, but gives you a sizable sample of what's happening in the world of DCC and adjacent stuff. And as always, I am your host, Mr. Michael Curtis, the director of product development for Goodman Games. And tonight, we actually have an all third-party publishing staff group on. So everybody, we were going to be talking to people who have been contributing to the wider Dungeon Crawl Classics and adjacent world through efforts of their own. And I'm looking forward to talking to them because it's kind of a slow month for DCC releases, but we'll get to that anyway. But that was not the only reason I decided to have them on tonight because if you've been watching the Goodman Game Store, there's been some big releases have been hitting it in this last month, so I figured it was a good time to bring some people on and talk about it. So this is which is we're bringing on the show now. We're just about just, what is it, like a week or so away from Halloween. I hope everybody out there who was enjoying had a wonderful spooky holiday. I hope everybody was safe and everything. I hope that. I hope that some of you got a chance to tune in and catch Brendan, LaSalle, and I. In the middle of October, we were coming on and talking about spooky stuff for the kind of a season 3 teaser for Keep Crawling with Mike and Brendan. So more on that by the end of the show, but we're looking forward to coming back. But that's not directly DCC related stuff. So I just also wanted to kind of to point out this is actually the 1 year anniversary of Maw of Mike. Believe me, is we've done, this is our 12th show. So we made it through an entire year. And when I took over the position as director of product development for DCC, I wanted to create a venue to be, more transparent about what's going on behind the scenes and everything. So I hope the show has kind of, has assisted that goal. I hope that you and the fan base feel like kind of more where things are and everything, and that's just been the whole point the entire time. So I look forward to doing this for as long as Joe, wants to have me hanging around. So if there's anything you're really enjoying, anything think I can do better or anything, by all means, please mention it in the chat or send it to info@Goodman Games. You're saying, hey, tell Mike the idiot you should do this from going forward or whatever. So, and I will take all that constructive feedback to heart. So. All right, so we're going to take a quick little break, and we're going to come back with our first guest in just a moment. So just stick around, okay? Hey, everybody. We are back, and joining me is my first guest who is actually making his debut on Maw of Mike because he's just been very, very busy. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda needs no introduction, but I'll give him one anyway. Mr. David Baity. How you doing, Dave?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on the show.
It is a pleasure. And let me kick things off by congratulating you on your winning a goodie.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what a goodie was until I was told I'd won one. So it was definitely a swell award to receive, being that, people in the community are kind of behind nominating you for it.
I was one of the many people who threw your name into the hat, so I was very happy
Oh,
to see that
man, you're going to get a big wet kiss at GaryCon now. You know that, right, buddy?
you do good things for the community, and you do good things for people in general. Everything I felt you deserve some recognition, even if it's just a crappy medallion that we'll mail you.
I sent Goodman an email and I said, look, we've got to get a 3D scan of you and do like the Oscar stuff. It's like a golden Goodman. He was
Exactly.
like, maybe
That's
next
an
year we'll
idea.
do that.
So, considering we I think when Joe kicked off the idea, we were like, yeah, we're just going to give out an award. There was no name for it, and so we just why don't we call it the goodies? And then it's typical Goodman game stuff. There's a lot of like, let's look before we leap and figure out things like when we're in midair. So that's what happened there. Though there was a push to call it the Ziggies for a while, and that may be after our ziggurat. But anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, Dave, the reason I am having you on the show is something that I know has consumed your life for many, many years now, and we were going to talk about a little thing, a small project that you put together called Weird Frontiers. So,
Yeah, I think it started out at maybe a 300-page book, and it blossomed over the years
it
into
just
what we now have, which is a 900-page book.
what is it, 900? Is that what?
908.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. It is an impressive looking tome. Even more so if you splurge and you got like the leather bond,
Oh yeah. If you
leather
could have,
version and everything.
I wish you could have been in the conversation streams when we realized to put everything in that book that was, promised in the Kickstarter. It was going to be 900 pages. Everybody was like, "What?" I was like, "Hey, let's just stat it up as a weapon, and everybody will understand." So yeah, it wasn't supposed to be that big, but it worked, and I think it's a good book. So
Well, I know well, that's a good thing of it, since it took some time to get it all together. And you had people actually out the people were actually out playing Weird Frontiers before it was even released. So you were hearing, at least it's one of the things, is you were hearing good feedback about it before it hit the streets, because that's always the biggest terrifying stuff when you're writing and doing something in
oh
a vacuum.
yeah.
And then, I think something that's 908 pages is like, gee, I hope people like this. Just drop it in the middle of the pond.
Well, it may, in all honesty, it may suck. I don't think many people have made it all the way through the book yet. So maybe it'll take a year or so for people to finish the book, and then
Well,
I'll get that horrible feedback that I was waiting for.
All right. So let's start from the beginning, in case there are people who are just turning into the show. They had nothing to do on a Monday night, and they said, Let's check out this Maw of Mike thing. What exactly is Weird Frontiers, and where did it come from?
It all started, I mean, I got pretty hard and heavy into DCC, like most of us do, and it's a very addictive game. And I think I ran a campaign, a homebrew campaign for about a year, and we just kind of wanted to do something different. And the Weird West genre came up. So the only thing that was out during that time was a fanzine, Black Powder, Black Magic, which some people may or may not remember.
Hmm.
And one of the folks that's involved with that, Eric Hoffman, always teases me about Weird Frontiers being a Black Powder, Black Magic hack. So I always give him that credit. But it was, I think, two fanzines at the time, and it really just it wasn't kind of developed and going the way that we wanted. So we started playing Deadlands, which is a great game, obviously,
Uh,
in itself. And we missed a lot of the DCC mechanics. So I pushed away from the table and said, let's take 2 weeks off. And when we come back, I'll throw some stuff together. And that was the birth of the monster that is Weird Frontiers. So they liked it a lot. And I think I took it to a couple of cons, and it just kind of built steam from there. I mean, you probably remember me running it at some of
mhm.
the older cons, and eventually it turned into a Kickstarter, and the rest is history. It's been a bumpy road, but one
Yeah,
I've learned a lot from. I keep
yeah.
thinking about, I can remember like just to the day Jim Wampler was coming out with MCC, and you looked at him, you said, it's not too late to get out, Jim. And, and I was just like, what the hell is he talking about? But
Uh,
now I remember that. And I was like, anytime I had a horrible moment, when something would go wrong with the project, I thought about you and that one line that you said to Jim. So
that I mean, it's half tongue in cheek, but it's half real. It's
no,
anybody.
dude, I realized the depth of that statement. Believe me,
Anybody who comes up to me is like, do you have any advice, for being a professional game designer? And mine is not too late to stop.
it's not
It's
too
like,
late to get
it's like,
out. Yeah,
because yeah. So I mean, and this is it's especially interesting when you look at the fact that prior to Weird Frontiers, the 908-page book, you had Carnival of the Damned to your name, which is a zine-sized release of what, 32 pages, if that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
so,
I would wager to say I'm not the brightest bulb in the carton. I don't think many people would have jumped into that water like I did, and you think most Kickstarters, you start out with an adventure that may be 30, 32 pages, but hey, let's just go ahead and do a 900-page book with 5 stretch goal adventures too. I mean, it was like a Goodman Games size Kickstarter, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But you know what? I came out on the other side of it, and I've got 5 adventures, one penned by one of my favorite authors, Michael Curtis,
well,
and a book people seem to really dig. So
it was, yeah. I mean, I was happy to be part of that. Because I mean, people know that I'm I am I call it I guess the interpreter of the Shutter Mountains. It's like
yeah,
I can't claim to have created the Appalachian Mountains. So I am just more like one voice of it. But I've always been interested. Like, I love I love taking real world, folklore and everything like that, and
Oh
being
yeah.
that adventure for Weird Frontiers was just like I've always wanted to do like a Southern Gothic thing, and this was the name of the adventure is the Nest of Snakes.
Yep.
I wanted to do something that was very Appendix N, and in the sense of that I was really there's a lot of Robert E. Howard's Pigeons from Hell in that one. I mean, it just kind of transferred from like Texas to like the Louisiana Bayou, but same kind of weird house with something more going on to it.
That
So
is, if that adventure, first off, I had to beg Michael for, I don't know, like months. And I gave a finger, I had to cut a finger off and send it to him. But that adventure reminds me of being a kid. And I can remember my dad taking me to the drive-ins, those old schlock horror movies and things. And,
mhm,
and I can specifically remember a movie, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a terrifying haunted house style adventure where things just went off the wall, that adventure that you could, that's the only one, not saying anything about the other ones, but that's
mhm,
the one that I have ran at various cons, because to me it is just in your face brutal horror. It's almost like you took a filter off that you apply with some of the Goodman adventures you've done,
uh-huh.
and you went a little off the chain, and I actually loved it.
Yeah, yeah, because I knew you didn't know what you were up to, so I figured I could slip this one into the line. It's like, Joe was far more experienced to let me get away with that. So but I mean, to I think it demonstrates the amount of love that the DCC community had for Weird Frontiers even before it had, because like when you approached like a bunch of us to do stretch goal adventures, and it was like you got Harley said yes, Brendan said yes, Bob Brigman, you said yes, I said yes. I mean, it was just like, yeah, sure, like
Yeah.
we to do a Weird Frontiers one, and I mean, sure, we'll help out Dave, and we get to write rootin' tootin' cowboy sorcerer stuff, so it was
Yeah, I emptied my karmic cookie jar out with you guys, because getting all you guys lined up is, I think, a big reason as to why the Kickstarter did so well. And like I said, everything turned out awesome. So I couldn't be more proud of the book, but the adventures too, I think, are top notch.
yeah, no. Well, so you weren't cursing our names then, was it, as you're trying to fulfill this 908 page, it was like, if only I meant, because that's like only what, like like a 32 page zine, and that's like 32 page zines or something like that worth of content, so
Yep. Yep. Like I said, man, trial by fire. That's what it's been, but I'm still here, so that's a good thing.
so that brings up a question then. What's next?
Um,
Is
well,
I mean,
I'm good. I actually painted a miniature the other day, and it was so much fun. I realized that, there are things that I used to love to do that I stopped doing, because anytime that, I'd want to, I guess, take some time to go play like Blood Bowl or some of these other games that I've always been fond of, I feel guilty because, I was behind the dime on the book itself. So I didn't really do a whole lot, so I've been kind of getting back into some miniature games. But there's 3 adventures on the shelf, actually probably 5. The next one that'll be coming out may or may, I think I'm probably going to kickstart that towards the end of the year, by Steve Bean. You may have heard of him. He's written
uh,
a few adventures, but he's got a great one called Road to Perdition. Um, and I always just murder his last name, Marzio.
uh, Mushedri,
Say it again.
Mushedri.
You remember
Yes.
Steve Martin when he said the guy died
Yeah.
speaking French? It almost sounds like,
So no,
well, shut
I'll teach you the secret to remembering Marzio's name off camera. So it took me a while too, but then I finally figured out the pneumatic for it. But so
So
um
he's got an adventure, and I love it a lot. It's based off the strange case of Charles Dexter Ward, which is one of
okay.
my favorite stories by Lovecraft. And then Steve Spahn, Pete Spahn, who did a adventure in the core book. He's got another one that. So really, I've got 3 to get ready. Steve turned his in first, so I'm gonna get his out hopefully by the end of the year. So there should be at least, I'd say, 3 or 4 adventures. There's a gentleman named Eric Young. Some of you may know his name in the
Mm.
community. He's written one, and also uh, now it's leaving me. Oh, he's going to kill me too. I can't. It'll come to me. Next question.
Okay. Well, if I recall correctly, I've heard some rumors that you're you're kind of working right now to make it so that the rule book itself will be available print on demand. Is that for that kind of like some reformatting and stuff? Is that?
Yeah, we figured I can't really vouch for a Lightning Source. I don't know how well a 900-page book would do through their printing methods, and I definitely don't want folks ordering a book and then having to use it for toilet paper or kindling for, because the spine's not holding up. So, um, the idea was to split it into 2 volumes. So we'll put all the magic and the magic spells. I mean, that's probably about 400 to 450 pages. We'll
Mhm.
put that in 1 volume. I had San Julian do an additional painting for that. So the problem has just been splitting it up. You have to also kind of index it and hyperlink it. So it's been a big task for Gilbert Isla, who's been doing the layout work. But
Mhm.
he and I spoke this week, and we should have things rocking and rolling. I say by mid-December at least. I'm gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep rambling on.
No, I know. But I mean, there's nothing worse than just putting all this effort and to getting getting the book together, and then getting the print run and getting it into people's hands and everything. And then once the print run is gone, it's like no, like I said, nobody can play the game anymore. So I
And
mean,
that's in all honesty, it's a double-edged sword, which I think Goodman ordered around 140 books.
mhm,
He's already out of the 40 limited. I'm not sure how many he has of the standard, and I think I may have had 100 of each cover. So I don't think there'll be any left by December.
right.
So the POD will hopefully get people through. And in the meantime, I'm looking at possibly doing a second run. But if we do, that'll be split up in maybe a slipcase with 2 volumes.
Right. Yeah. So if you have been hearing about Weird Frontiers and you did not back the Kickstarter and definitely want to get in before while the getting's good, you can go to it's for sale on the Goodman the Goodman web store right now. So you can go open another window and go there now and grab a copy of it. But
Yeah.
before, because I know the character sheets are already, I think the character sheet pads are already sold out too, and
I'm not, he didn't order a lot of those. I think he may have ordered 10 each of those, but yeah,
yeah.
it's one of those things when I made the final check, wrote the checks for the books. It was during COVID times, and they went up like almost $7,000 on shipping almost overnight.
Mhm.
So I had to cut the extra quantity of books just to kind of, because I was already in a hole a little bit on the production.
Right.
Book doubles in size, you got to put more art in it and all of that
Mhm.
good stuff. So I just couldn't order that many, and I didn't know once it arrived. I mean, it's one of those things you're kind of rolling the dice. Is the book going to be a quality book? Is there going to be enough? Are people going to want it?
Mhm.
And I should have ordered more, obviously. So lesson learned.
Well, right. I mean, that's and I'm still learning stuff from Joe, but Joe has been doing this for 20 years now. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's a company and everything, and so it's I mean, and I think he started small. I think he started a couple of skinny adventures before he started putting 100-page books together. So there you go. That's it. Um, so yeah, sorry. So what do you think? So what have you learned, Mr. Baity? What have you learned from this whole thing? It's like, if
Um,
what do you have for like the person right now who is sitting on their own Kickstarter? They have their own kind of like fantasy heartbreaker DCC mashup that they want to put out there, and they're thinking about pulling the trigger. What advice do you have them
it's
besides it's
not too
not
late
too
to get
late to get
out.
out, right?
No, I would just say start out small. Use the community because everybody's approachable. Goodman has been an amazing shoulder to lean on in some of the hard times that I've went through with the project. All of you guys have been awesome. So I would just say if you have any questions, I would say reach out and get the opinions of the people in the community and kind of work from there. And I've always told folks that if they're working on Weird Frontiers stuff or even DCC stuff, I don't mind taking a look at it and giving you an honest opinion. But I think just starting out slow and really considering a lot of the things that don't go along with the creation process, even like paying for boxes and shipping materials and things like that, you need to really factor a lot of those things in before you pull the trigger on anything. A zine is a perfect way to start, I think, and that's what I should have done.
Mhm.
I should have started with a series of zines like Reed did with Umerica. He did it right, I think,
Mhm.
and or at least a little more safe. I guess that's what I would say, because what I did was very risky, and I got lucky. I really did. I
Yeah.
mean, it could have blew up in my face one of a dozen times, but somehow or another, I always ended up coming out, on the sunny side of things. So, um,
Well, I will say this: you've definitely produced more material than Black Powder Black Magic ever did in their 3 feed run. So there you go. I'm actually gonna go see Eric next week. So I'll
oh, are you really?
yeah, I'm taking a trip to he has a little kind of
Oh,
miniature.
yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Where's he
Yeah,
at now? Is he in
he's he's
Illinois?
he's down to Maryland
Okay,
without giving away
yeah.
his thing. So
I love him to death. I love him to death.
so I'll maybe next year, we'll get you up there and you can play Blood Bowl because it's literally just a bunch of nerds pushing miniatures around in his basement. So
That's my kind of thing.
yeah. So so obviously Joe has been very open with like the third party license, letting people do stuff and thing. What I think we'll get in this a little bit more in just a few moments. But what if people out there, they're loving Weird Frontiers and they have some ideas for Weird Frontiers and they want to write Weird Frontiers adventures. I mean, should they reach out to you? Do they I mean, what would
The process, I think, is basically the same. It's just there's two speed bumps instead of one. Anything you do with DCC, it's obviously Goodman wants to take a look at it and just make
Mhm,
sure that you're not going insane with it. And it's the same with me. Mr. Stefan, I think, is going to be on your show a little later today. He's put out a really awesome adventure for it already. And it's just essentially the same steps. I just take a look through it and make sure that, it's reasonably okay. And
mhm,
and I encourage people, if you like Weird Frontiers, you don't necessarily have to stick to, the meat of the story of the game. Come up with your own kind of Weird West and just use some of the mechanics, the rules if you want. But I welcome anybody to create, and it's actually very flattering when somebody takes something that you've built and uses it for their own creations and imagination. That's really cool.
yeah. No, that's just that's a sign that something has really, really, has resonated with people when they start taking it and they, say, okay, I want to play in this sandbox. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like I've had a few folks. Chris Lorcella, I think is his last name. I'm horrible with some of these last names, but I've always loved his style of judging at games, and I think he's a bit of a connoisseur of his adventures and what he runs. And he sent me a message the other day, showing me some pictures, and
mm,
some of the artists are like in all the way across the world in Bahrain, and he sent me pictures from a con where he ran some Weird Frontier. So it's just really cool. You don't think that that's going to happen, and so it's very humbling when you see somebody all the way across the world
mhm.
taking something that you created and rolling with it. And that goes the same way with any kind of um, you know creativity or products that someone might want to make, just to continue the game, I guess you say, or the world.
Yeah, no, always nothing like that sort of reinforcement that you didn't waste your life writing 908 pages of content, putting it out there. So somebody else is getting use out of it. So there you go.
Yeah, there's a little bit, there's a proverbial sigh of relief.
Mm,
People have enjoyed it, and it was late, but there and again, it's twice the size. But everybody's just been super nice all through the whole process. I have no complaints at all.
right. Well, we're almost out of time, but I can't let you go without bringing this up because I know there's a big bunch of the DCC fan community look forward to it every year. When's the next fundraiser for the kiddies? Do you have currently something planned?
I'm doing something different this year. Right now, I have a humble bundle. They approached me about that, so I think there's 7 more days left for that. So if you don't have some of the PDFs, it's a good deal to get in on that. And other than that, I'm going to do something different this year, because usually for the cat raffle, I'll collect products all through the year. But with the book, it's just taking so much of my time.
Hmm.
So I'm having nobody else knows this, and hopefully it'll turn out okay. But I've contacted San Julian, and he is actually painting an original cat themed painting, and I'm going to raffle that off,
Oh,
and hopefully
awesome.
it'll make some good cash for some of the. I do
Awesome.
this for a local cat rescue. There's a lady here nearby, and she's just I don't see how she does it, but this year I think she's rescued 100 cats and kittens and given them home. So if you like
Mhm.
cats, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. So, well, you heard it here first, people. So start squirreling that money away for the kitties. You know, a chance of you getting a Stan Julian cat themed original. So, all right, Dave. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I know you're working tonight, so for coming and joining me on the show and talking Weird Frontiers. So, all right. So
Anytime, Michael. I love you, dude, and thanks for having me on the show.
no problem, man. I look forward to hanging out with you on the campaign on the trail this coming year. So so paint up some Dracula's America figures. Maybe we'll play that somewhere down the line. So all right, man. All right, we'll be right back in a few minutes with a few moments with our next guest. So just stick around. Hey everybody, we are back, and joining me is my second guest of the night, Mr. Stefan Surratt. So Stefan, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So, well, I decided I wanted to have you on because we're on a Weird Frontiers vibe, obviously, which is going on now,
Yeah.
and I know that you also have something in the Weird Frontiers vein, which is currently also on the Goodman Game Store. So
Mhm.
let's talk about your adventure, which is always a sign of a good new game system when there's already third party support for the third party publishing, which just actually hit the public. So so in fact you might be I think there was actually two
The
two or three third party releases for Weird Frontiers, because I know Steve Newton also did one as well, so for
mhm.
Thick Skull Press. But I don't have Steve on, I have you, so let's talk about your adventure, which, if memory serves me right, is the Brimstone Cradle and the Hills That Hunger. Is that correct?
Yes.
So
Yeah, Steve beat me to the punch a little bit, but I was close in right behind him. Dave actually ran what it was really hard for me to find local DCC games, and at North Texas, he ran a game, and it was actually like my fourth or fifth game in the DCC space ever. I in the mid-time bio break, I went and bought my first set of dice. And there's a picture of that game in the back of the core rule book too. So and like that, I think that was even during the Kickstarter. It just like sealed me in 100%.
mhm.
And I started writing The Hills That Hunger like just a little bit after that. I just couldn't stop thinking about it, and I in my normal time I just can't stop watching horror movies. So that one, it's like main inspiration points were like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills Have Eyes. So you got your cannibal hillbillies. Someone had to make a cannibal hillbilly adventure for this
Mhm.
thing, and by golly, it was gonna be me.
so I had the suspicion, because I've not had a chance to actually get my hands on it yet. But so the release that's available on Goodman Game, I
Mhm.
thought these are two adventures under one cover. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, it's a double feature. It's your horror western double feature at the drive-in.
So you technically you beat Steve Newton then, because he's only put one out, so you put two out there. So you might
Yeah.
have put the first one out, but you got two there. So there you go. so so if the Hills That Hunger is kind of a western with a kind of a the hills have eyes, Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to it, what about the Brimstone Cradle? What's the story with that one?
That one, I was still kind of working on The Hills That Hunger, but I'm always like, my mind is a little ADHD, and I can't just work on one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was December. I'm still watching horror movies, but I'm also watching Christmas movies, and my wife is pregnant, and I'm like, yeah, trapped in a cabin, save the baby until dawn because demons want it, but they only got until dawn. It's Christmas morning. The baby has just been born. That's what we're gonna do. And people love that one because they love that like tiny little cabin until dawn. Let's, you know, board up the windows. They love that. Like
Uh,
there's stuff in there for going out and trying to leave in the, horrible blizzard and getting past the demons out there. That section is actually entirely unplay tested because no one ever does it. They want to be in the cabin.
so it's like Evil Dead meets meets Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, so all right. So I mean, so So obviously you were, well, here's a question. You were just like, you just really gotten into DCC and then kind of rolled right into Weird Frontiers. Did you
Mhm.
have any other background with any sort of like the supernatural Western genre at all before this? Like, did you ever play Deadlands or, any of that?
I played Deadlands, and I also played like a D&D 3.5
Mhm.
weird Western hack, which Deadlands much superior. Uh, but it was still a fun time because I was having fun with my friends. So and just beyond that, just enjoying it. And before that, I'd done an MCC zine and just like a Gong Farmer's Almanac adventure. So like I was coming into the whole writing and publishing pretty fresh.
Mhm.
And it was just me, like Dave said, I just emailed him and was like, "Hey, I've been writing a thing. It if I would like to publish it with a third party license, if that's something that you're interested in allowing, here's like a little summary. If you want, I will also send you a link to the Google Doc that has my manuscript."
Mhm.
And
And
he was said yes.
there's
So
a lot of that going around, I tell you, in the DCC. That's the one great thing about, well, no, that's one of the many great things about the DCC community, is that, is that just so supportive, and everybody's just like, sure, why not? Just take, it reminds me, it reminds me a lot of like the game that Lovecraft would play with his stuff, like he would come up
oh
with names
yeah.
stuff, and other writers be like, hey, I'm going to borrow that. Sure. And then he would borrow stuff from other stuff. So that very, considering the inspiration for DCC is that Appendix X, the whole weird, the weird tales kind of, whether intended or otherwise, certainly the community has embraced that. So
Oh yeah. It created this exact same sort of atmosphere.
yeah, well, so speaking of community and third party license, it didn't stop for you at just this
Nope.
adventure. I mean, you said, hey, this sounds good. Let me form a whole publishing group, and so let's talk about Dragon Peak Publishing then. That you're kind of your imprint there. No.
Yeah, it started as a way to help convince my wife that I wasn't wasting money on buying all this stuff. And say, look, honey, I'm making money. Look, I file taxes. And it seems to have worked so far. It is a Dragon Peak Publishing is a very fancy name for a one-man show.
Mhm.
Is what I generally tell people. And yeah, it's mostly DCC. I've also got like nearly like 2,000 VTT tokens like grouped into different genres I sell that I made from like old public domain art. Um, so you can have like some cool comic books. You'll uh, Grape Ape uses them on his Reaver Express show all the time. And I've made a few non DCC things for Primal Quest, which is a game by Diego Noguera, recent Goody Award winner,
Mhm.
and another game called Rune. But it's mostly DCC and MCC and the Weird Frontiers because I don't know, that's what draws me the most. That's what gives me the most inspiring, and I'm not quitting my job anytime soon to do this. So I got to be passionate about what I'm doing, otherwise it's not going to get done.
Yes, very much so. This is, I speak from experience. I know, so, the other thing I've experienced. If you ever want to do this professionally, get a new hobby. I'm just saying, it's like, because once you're doing this all the time, it's like, what did I used to do for fun? Oh, my work. But hopefully you will never get to that point, and that's not because I'm not wishing you well. I'm just,
No, I understand the warning. I've heard it before.
so, so what? I mean, I know you shared some artwork with me,
Mhm.
and so what's coming up from Dragon Peak? Is there anything that you want to talk about? I mean,
Yeah, so one of the things I shared a piece of artwork for a thing. I'm just basically stealing a line from a novel that both you and I like, the King of Elfland's Daughter. My next thing, I'm planning a Kickstarter in probably January. Uh, the main product will be
right,
Elfland Beyond
right
the
after
Fields
the
We Knew.
holidays when nobody has any money.
Well, well, I don't know. It's when I can make it work for my life.
Scooch into February.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. It's a soft January, but yeah, planning to I've done 3 Kickstarters now, and as people on here might know, shipping and fulfillment's a little difficult. So I'm planning on doing multiple things in the one Kickstarter. It's going to be a zine that is like a toolkit to help folks run games in Elfland, because we all got teased at the end of Queen of Elfland's Son with that.
I know,
So
man. That jerk. I tell you, man.
ooh,
I tell him all the time he's got to finish that adventure. You
the
know, and
audacity.
he said I'm trying to, but I've had all these other responsibilities that just take up all my time. You know, so yeah. So I'm working on it.
Fair enough. Anyway, but so it's gonna have like treasures and curses and rumors, entrances and exits, and 6 kind of mini adventures in it. A couple pages and a map of varying degrees of, might be combat, might be entirely social and role play, because you probably expect a little bit more of that in Elfland. And it's also, I've done layout for it, so it's also set up so that you can do it as kind of a solo journaling game and take some level 0 through Elfland, write what happens to him, and create a really interesting NPC to drop into your campaign and kind of hook in your players for more. But I'm also, in addition to that, doing a pamphlet funnel adventure and 2 higher level adventures, and I'm gonna do an iron-on patch because they're cool and I want to do them. And I'm gonna do it all in one Kickstarter, so I don't have to ship one time.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, but this isn't the only time people can see you on the official Goodman Game Twitch channel. So you also make some semi-weekly thing, the which is a little something called Rules is Written or Raw.
Yeah. Me and Gray Paper, or Matt, he kind of suggested to me. I've been kind of thinking in the background about something because Spellburn kind of went into its hiatus. We'll see if it remains one. But me and him, we're both on the Discord servers a whole lot. We see people asking a lot of questions, and a lot of them are the same question. We just see multiple people asking them.
Mhm.
And it's not unique to Discord. You see that anywhere you go on the internet for really any game. But we thought of this as like, hey, we can help people provide, kind of a good product for those kind of little detailed questions of how does this work? How does that work? And I don't know. We just both really like talking about the game, so we keep on doing it.
Okay. Well, that's I'm hoping that is this is helping people out there. It's I mean,
That's the
I will
goal.
admit is that I chuckle a little every time. Like we're gonna go talk about this. I said, okay, what's the rules is written for this? Well, okay.
I mean, there's some of them where it's like there's like one sentence that we're referencing, and we're all really. I mean, I don't run the game rules as written. Matt doesn't run the game
No,
rules as
nobody runs
written.
the game. I think that's why I laugh is that because nobody
Yeah,
runs the game as
but
rules is written.
it's good to try to understand the rules before you start breaking them. Cormac McCarthy knows how to use punctuation. He just refuses to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking literally. I think I used rules that were in the alpha draft and didn't make it through, but just because when we were playtesting it, it was like that sounded fun, and then so like whatever it is, whatever works at the table as far as I know. So, all right. Well, but so that is you. In fact, you have a new show tomorrow night. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're having Harley on. We're gonna ask him some
Oh
questions about
God, no,
weird
no.
spell rules, but also kind of just be like, all right, you got to tell us some things about the purple planet. So
Yeah, well, I trust Harley to talk about Purple Planet. I do not trust him to talk about rules as written. So I would tell you the worst people to following the rules are designers. If you ever play with a game designer and they're using the actual rules as written, they didn't write the game. All right. So, well, Stefan, thank you very much for coming on. We're gonna take a quick break and bring back our third guest for the night. And those of you who are looking, I believe Elaine actually posted the link, but the Brimstone Cradle and the Hills That Hunger available at the Goodman Game Store as we speak. So you can go out there and grab that, bundle it with your purchase of Weird Frontiers, and there you go. You'll be very happy. All right, we'll be back in just a couple of moments with my final guest for the evening. So stick around. Hey, everybody. I am back with Mr. Tim Snider, who is on the show and did not write a Weird Frontiers adventure.
I did not. No.
Yet.
Not yet. Yes.
Although theoretically, there might be something we can talk about, and with theoretically involves a train. So that
yes, yes. Perhaps we can discuss that at some point.
I mean, you shoot out on top of a train. That definitely in the wheelhouse of Weird Frontiers.
As close as I've come so far.
But we're going to step out of the dusty streets of Deadwood, and we're going to step into we're going to step into room 8-10. So you have a new release that you did independently, and is now available. So let's tell me about that and tell the
Well, this is an adventure for MCC that I've been playtesting it forever. It's called The Desk in Room 810.
Weird Frontiers was 32 pages when you started testing that. That's how long it's been.
Yeah, I feel like kind of a piker at this point, after listening to the other page counts. Yes, this is less than 30 pages. But The Desk in Room 810 is an adventure I wrote for MCC. Now, I say that I've been playtesting it for several years, and the reason being is that I wrote it in my head. I could run it at conventions. I just never sat down to actually physically write it down. And it just took me forever to actually do it. But it's now out. And I'm actually very happy with the way it turned out. It's got some great artwork done by Aaron Seidel, who did the cover and all the interior. And it's quite a cracking adventure. Although I like to say it's a hex crawl that takes place in a space that's 2 foot by 4 foot.
I from the artwork, I thought I might be able to get where some of the inspiration is coming from. But what without spoiling the spoiling the adventure, what's the general plot of?
Well, as the general plot is that it's a first level adventure, so everybody are beginning seekers for their tribe. There is an earthquake that has occurred several weeks ago. And at nighttime, off in the distance, the tribe can see a very faint light. So they send the senior seeker team to go check out and see what's going on, to see if perhaps there's some kind of danger to the tribe. And they don't come back. So you neonate seekers are sent to go. It's the classic go find out what happened to the other team.
the much better prepared and experienced group. Let's go find out what happened to them.
Correct. However, one of the seekers did come back. So she just said that the other team just disappeared, takes the party to where they disappeared. And that's when they get embroiled in science gone wrong.
As it does, apparently.
As it does, yeah. As it does. So without really spoiling anything, although if you've seen the cover and some of the artwork that will be popping up, the team, it doesn't necessarily disappear as they become very hard to see to the naked eye.
I had flashbacks to somebody fighting off a big spider with like a pencil. But
if you were to ask me for the inspiration, it would be 3 of my favorite movies / TV, and that would be Fantastic Voyage, which I dearly love, The Incredible Shrinking Man, which you just mentioned, and Irwin Allen's Land of the Giants.
I knew we were going to go Land of the Giants before.
Yes. So I already had in mind, because there's just something very interesting about small people using big found objects. And so I kind of wanted to play around in that sandbox. And obviously, MCC just lends itself to that kind of craziness occurring. But I didn't really have an idea for a setting until I was at work. And I was honest to God, and I was getting something out of my desk floor, and I looked down and said, well, that's where my adventure is going to take place. Hence the title, The Desk in Room 810.
So it's less a hex crawl than a draw crawl.
Yes. But because the science gone wrong is still going on, when it begins, they are just in a large, unfamiliar environment, but they're continuing to reduce in size as they go. So things that are quite frightening at one size might become a behemoth at the next.
Right.
Until
very much the Incredible Shrinking Man problems.
Absolutely, absolutely, it is. However, as they traverse this environment, they will encounter others who have found themselves in this predicament. They may or may not be able to find out what happened to the previous seeker team. And I've also introduced a new patron AI in this adventure as well.
Okay. There's always people out there looking for more patron AIs, and I think that's no, that's it sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. So
I hope so.
Well,
I hope so.
You certainly won't be from lack of playtesting.
That is true. This doesn't have a list of playtesters because it would list well over 50 or 60 people at this point, just because the sheer amount of play testing. As a matter of fact, in the adventure, there are several obstacles to kind of overcome, and this adventure lends itself to creative problem solving using found objects. So at certain points where it might seem insurpassable, I kind of said, okay, just so you know it can be done, here are some other ways some other teams have gotten through this same area. So
probably easier at this point to list the people who didn't playtest the adventure.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it probably.
Oh, but is this available? So you actually you sent me stuff. So this is available both in PDF and in print as well.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it's currently available in PDF. However, the POD went live about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
So yes, I finally got the print copies or the press copies, which I have approved and gone ahead and tossed up. So the viewers of Maw of Mike are the first ones to know that it's even remotely available. And I just posted. Well, okay, later on because it just kicked me out. But I'll post the link for everybody to go grab a copy.
Well, we're not wrapping things up. You can drop that into.
Yes, I will do that then.
It's okay. I very rarely have anything worthwhile to say in the show, except give people updates on what's going on. So
fantastic.
So this is, I know this is independent stuff, but you've been doing a lot of work for me lately as well.
You have been working me like a rented mule. Yeah, I've written. Obviously, I got my foot in the door with you and with Goodman with When Manimals Attack.
Which is a great name for a title.
That really turned out well. I've obviously edited some things here and there. I've written a small adventure for an upcoming project.
Yes, that's correct.
And you kind of alluded to another adventure.
Yeah, we have actually. We'll talk about it more in the months ahead because
sure.
But Tim basically had an idea that he came to me was he said I think I have a way to connect all the MCC adventures. And I said, "Oh, tell me more." And basically came up with a concept which involved basically a super train.
Pretty much. In my never-ending goal to drag B movies in 1970s pop culture, yes, Super Train, the big bus, and in MCC. So
whether intended or not, there's a little bit of Snowpiercer in there as well. So so there's so it's very much in the post-apocalyptic genre. So
good point. And I think one of the selling points that you and I kind of chuckled about was who doesn't like a running gun battle on the roof of a moving train.
aside from the MTA, I can't think of anybody. I mean, they tend to poo poo on that.
They do frown upon it, so don't they?
I mean, even in the greater New York metropolitan area, maybe in the 70s, it was all right, but
maybe in the 70s, when it's nothing but polyester and bell bottoms, yes, then it was absolutely
so.
But yeah, as well as some other MCC stuff going on in the background, both personal and for you guys. So yeah, I'm just churning out as much mutated material as I possibly can.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. We just always people who are loving, give me MCC some love, and just kind of, other stuff in the plans which have not been announced, but we're working on stuff.
Indeed.
So. All right. Well, anything? Are you currently playtesting another thing for the next 5 years for publication in 5 years, or you kind of rest on your laurels for a little while?
No, never. Well, as a matter of fact, I do have another adventure that is literally coming right behind this one that will hopefully not take me another 3 years to write. So that one is called Phage from Below, and pretty excited about that. And I've also got some other stuff that is not Goodman related that I am writing just to keep myself happy and occupied on my downtime.
Right. You've been updating your blog for, again, you kind of got back on that for because I know you were around when I was blogging, and that was, close to 15 years ago at this point,
Yeah, I kind of resurrected the Savage Afterworld, which is, kind of my print brand, I suppose. And that started back just when I was just doing general post-apocalyptic RPGs and Mutant Future Gamma World and those kinds of things. And I just kind of resurrected it when MCC took off and my interest in that. And so, yeah, and when I remember that I actually still have it, I post things on it. So that's always nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm so yeah. Feel free to drop the link to the Savage Afterworld in the chat, and but thank you very much for coming out and talking about the desk in room 8-N, or is it just 810 or
810? Just the room in 810, because otherwise it's 810 or 810. I don't. But it's 810. It's
like 8-10 or something. They pronounce it.
Oh! I wish I had used a slash instead of a hyphen.
Oh, the reprint.
In the reprint. Yeah,
go, reprint.
True.
My job here tonight, just give advice whether wanted or not. That's it.
I need all the punctuation help I can
get. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, Tim. We're going to take a momentary break, and then I will be back with some updates on some products. So stick around, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for sticking around for another Maw of Mike. I hope you have found it entertaining, informative, and a great way to kill an hour on a Monday night. So, I'm sure I have some updates about some Kickstarters, which I'm sure that some of you, well, a lot of you already know. For example, I believe that we have shared pictures in the latest Kickstarter update on Dying Earth. We have gotten printer proof back, and Joe has approved basically just about everything. There was I know we were showing off what Matt has done with the foils. We kind of gone foil mad with Dying Earth, and it's looking really, really good. So so that is getting close to to getting through the printer press and packaged up, and then being put up on a boat and start getting this way. Speaking of things on boats, I am very happy to say that Crypt of the Devil Lich is on its way. It has been printed, it has been proofed, it has been packed, and it has been put on a ship, and that ship has departed some time ago from the shores of China and is currently on its way here. So so I'm not giving any dates at this point because I know Godzilla is still a threat out there. I mean, Cthulhu may rise, but we still kind of got to make it across the Pacific. But it is on its way. So that's we're doing our best to kind of to fulfill some of the Kickstarters which have been kind of languishing due to many problems with supply chains and everything else that we've been dealing with the last 2 years. So that is it. And I know people have been posting pictures of it. Tome Adventure #1 has finally been released by the U.S. Customs. They have thoroughly checked the shipment, found no cocaine or tigers, and decided that they can hit into the warehouses again. So everybody who has now backed it on Indiegogo, I believe their shipments have been dispatched. I know people are already receiving them, and it is up for pre-order now on the for those of you who did not back it, you can get it through the Goodman Games web store. So that too is on its way. DCC 100 is looking awesome. I know we just did an update about that not too long ago. Basically, at this point, I think we're just waiting for a few pieces of art left, and most importantly, we need to make sure that we have backers' names. So we in the last update, basically, I believe they posted a link to submit your name that you want to be credited for. The sooner we get that wrapped up, the sooner we can get that into layout, and the sooner we can get DCC 100 to the printers. So please, if you have backed it, and please do what you need to do on your part to make sure we have the name that you wish to be credited for, and then the faster we wrap that up, the faster we can get that into people's waiting hands. So hitting the stores this month, we have dice. We have dice for you. We have four sets of dice. If you don't have enough dice, you're wrong. Well, you're correct. We have 4 sets of dice which are coming up. We have Brendan LaSalle has done the Wizard Van Stellar Stowaways, which is going to be an awesome set of dice which is coming up. We have Daniel Bishop wrote the insert for Yellow's Crystallized Creations, and if you don't think there's not enough magical candy in DCC, we have you covered. Marzu Mashedri has done the Supernal Star Seeds, which is the very much in the Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith weirdness stuff. And then I have an insert for a set which is called the Eldritch Ruin Fragments, which is going to be which is more high magical weirdness and stuff. So those will be hitting the distributor chain and hitting the stores sometime soon. So that's it with releases. It's kind of a slow month for DCC stuff, but we have plenty more stuff which is kind of in the line. As I hinted to do in discussion with Tim, we've got stuff planned for early the start of next year. Joe just gave you an update on where things are going with X-Crawl. We were looking forward to getting that together early next year. Obviously, I'm not saying any dates because things can always slip, but that one is basically, we still some cleaning up to do, but it's coming along, and we are confident that when the time is ready to come, we will be able to fulfill the Kickstarter with alacrity. So it is that is off the top of my head basically where things are standing for where things are at November. A lot of projects which are going on in the background, which I take up most of my day. but we're making progress and stuff. We're looking forward to that. We will be if you're out and about on the East Coast, we will be Goodman Games will be at PAX East this month, I believe, as well, on the convention chain. So if you're in the greater Pennsylvania area, by all means, please. What's the next Kickstarter going to be? Announced. But there are I have hinted at stuff, and I would not. It's going to be something we've talked about. Let's just put it that way. So coming soon. So pay more attention to there. All right. I think that about does it for the show for November. If you're not doing anything this time next week, Brendan LaSalle and I will be back for Keep Crawling with Mike and Brendan, which we were going to be doing on Monday nights, new date time, every 2 weeks, whenever it does not conflict with Maw of Mike. So there we go. All right. So thank you very much, everybody, for hanging in there and spending time with me and my guests. I appreciate you. And everybody, until we talk to you next month, stay awesome. All right. Take it easy, everybody. Good night.